Hello and welcome back to yet another video on how to make a poggers model. In this video, it's going to be the second video of the series. In this video, I'll focus on VRoid. So I'll show you how to go from this to this. Yeah! So here I have opened the base of a female model in VRoid. This is the beta version, so it's going to look a tiny bit different in the stable version, but this is about making textures and making sure the model looks pretty. So I won't be using presets, I'll be telling you how to make it on your own. So before you do anything, you actually want to make sure that you turned off all of the shaders. So you would have to go to the general editor and go to rim light, make sure that strength is at 0 and compression at 100. Same thing here, strength at 0, compression 100, and the same for shading. So shading area I want it to be -1 and shade hardness at 1. Same thing here and same thing here. Now this is because when you draw on textures, the shade that is in there, let's say this, changes the color of how the texture looks like. This is basically like an additional on top shade that you can have on your model. You know, it's going to actually be a bit confusing because you're going to have a different color here. So just for the sake of doing the textures, turn all of it off so then you can see the bare textures of how the model looks like. Let's go to the face and start on the textures. So the teeth are going to be drawn white. I think most animes have just proper white colored teeth. You don't really have any shading or whatever in here. So just plop on white. It should be fine to go. That's how I do it at least. And when it comes to the tongue and when it comes to the back of the mouth, going to be this like dead looking purple. I found this to be a really nice color when it comes to the inside of the mouth. So if you want to, you can just color pick this color that you're seeing right now. And for the tongue, I use more of a pink color, so one like this, and I color both the upper part and the bottom of the tongue. For the textures, you want them to be shaded as well, and then on top of that you can put on the shaders that we turned off initially. So you don't do shading on the teeth. For the back of the mouth, you also don't do any shading, but for the tongue you do. You're going to want to have a bit of a darker shade than the tongue itself, and you're going to want to make basically a shape like this. So it's going to be the shadow of the tongue. You can go to expressions to preview how it looks like. A bit uneven, so just make sure that it's even on both sides, but that's how you're going to want your mouth to look like. Let's go on to the scleras. So the scleras, very simple when it comes to the cell shading. We're just going to want to grab this color that is here. It's pretty much just white. And then with the mirror on here, we're going to make it exactly the same on both sides. We'll have this part white and then get a shadow. The shadow is a bit too warm. I actually prefer to make my shadow more on the colder side and a bit more dark. And then with that type of shadow, go over the whole thing. And as you can see, it's going to look like this. And that's how I'd make my eyes usually. So next up is eyeline. I want to talk about eyeline and eyelashes at the same time because I actually found eyelashes to not really work that well when it comes to cell shaded models. I just toggle visibility on them, they disappear. Now why is it not good? Because eyelashes kind of stick out. Eyelashes on a model are more realistic looking. They don't really fit a cell shaded and a very simplistic model. So I just turned them completely off and only use the eyeline. That's what you're going to do for the eyelashes if you want to follow an art style like mine. And here you're going to of course turn off the color because they just changed the color like that, but we're coloring directly on the texture. We're not using the colors that VRoid gives you. So I'm going to actually toggle alpha lock to make sure that I'm drawing on what already is in here, and I will take it color and color it back again. Now, when it comes to eyelines, this is a really important part. This defines how your model will look like and what vibe it's going to give. Depends really on the shape of the eyeline and how the iris is colored. Those are very important parts of your model. I'm going to make my eyeline a bit more straight, and I'm going to make a bit stick out a bit more. Mind you, I'm doing this all on the mouse, so it doesn't really matter what you're using as long as you know what you're doing. Also, to color pick, I use Alt. If you click Alt, you can color pick whatever you have on the screen. So I'm going to add a little eyelash in here and in here, and this should make it look a tiny bit better. There we go. This is one of the very many options. More important than the shape though is the colors. We're going to toggle alpha lock. You want to do this every time you want to color on what you've already drawn. And I'm going to choose a dark brown color and color over it. This is a very good step. A lot of models look way better with a very dark brown instead of a completely black color. And for a little highlight, going to go to a more red color, bright like this. Going to choose this brush, it's a bit more faded out. Make it bigger and less opacity, and then slightly bright up the front and the end of the eyelash. Yeah. And this is how you make eyelashes. You don't need more. You can do a little bit more of highlights if you want to. You could technically go up to here, make some, big reflections. I don't do this. I think for cell shaded, for very simplistic models, this is a bit too much of reflection and detail. So I just keep it simple. So next, our eyebrows. Again, turn off the color. I don't know why they do this. I mean, probably so it's easier for people to just color with this, but we're coloring ourselves this time. So yeah, same thing. Alpha lock. Let's make them brown. Again, remember, nothing should be completely black. That is the death of you. And these eyebrows, they're not too bad, but anime eyebrows, I'll turn off the alpha lock again. Anime eyebrows are actually more straight and very thin. They get a bit thicker in the middle and they thin out again. This is how anime eyebrows usually look like. If you're trying to make a male model, sometimes male characters have very pronounced front of the eyebrow, so then something like this would be a bit more fitting for a male model, but usually you're going to want to go for a more subtle look. When it comes to coloring the eyebrows, you keep it one color, whatever the color of your hair is. So since we have blue hair at the moment, I'm actually going to choose the darker spot to make it look a bit more natural. You can play around with which tone looks the best, but this looks the best, seems like. And now, a very important part. The eye itself. Yeah, this is going to take a long time for you to learn how to do properly, because drawing eyes is, no matter if you're making a digital painting or if you're making a model, making the iris is the same thing. You have to know how to draw an anime eye, a stylized eye. So I'll try to help you by just explaining how I make them, but this is just one way and how my art style works like. So don't take this as the, general rule on how to make them, because it all depends on the person who's making them. So as you can see, my eyes, they're very simple. They just consist of a black little dot. So that's what I'm going to recreate first. Or not black, brown. Keep that in mind, dark brown, never black. Never black. And put a little dot here. Let's draw on a layer. Drawing on layers when it comes to irises is usually better. So then we're going to toggle alpha lock and we're going to color the eye what the color we want it to be. So let's say I want it to be orange. So we can just color the whole thing orange. Then we want to make whatever shade or highlight in here. So I'm going to take a darker tone, move it up here, and create the upper line. It's going to be the first shade. Then we're going back to this color and I'm going to make it a bit brighter. Make it like this and create the second, which is highlight, the second blob. Yeah, from here you can make even darker tones if you want. Match it however you want to. You can make it like this, make this like a highlight in the dark spot or whatever, for example. So now you can go with even more detail, but if you're satisfied with how it looks like, you will just simply take this color again and actually draw around it. Going to make an outline for the eye. We have our very cell shaded eye. So next up are highlights. These highlights, forget about them. They're ugly as hell. We're not going to use them. Just delete them. For the highlights, I usually just do white blobs. There's not much really that needs to be said here. I also usually use the mirror tool for them. Let's say we like this. Now, the only thing to remember about this is that placement is all up to you. If you like this, then you like this. If you want it less shiny looking, just don't make as many dots. The bare minimum is to make 2 blobs like this, and that's all you really need. And now also, if you make the blobs really big, let's say like this, the character is going to look a bit more cutesy. So if you want a more cutesy character, do this, do very big blobs. But if you want your character to look very mature, or just a bit more serious, or just normal, make highlights a bit less big or very small. So let's go with this. The next thing is going to be the skin. Now, I know, a lot of people are too bothered to make this look like anything crazy. All that they will do is change base color, to make the face look a different color, or just leave it as it is. But what we're going to do is get rid of this completely, okay? You do not need this. You do not need this. You can do way better, okay? So let's grab a skin color. Skin colors are usually in here. So like yellowish, pinkish, slightly color, and just color over it. There you are. This is all you need. I'm going to make it a tiny bit brighter. There we are. I usually go with paler skin tones. This is all up to you. I'm going to teach you how to color a paler skin tone. If you want to see how to color darker skin tones, sadly I don't have much experience. Not many people who wanted that really commissioned me, so I'm not really experienced in that. So I'll just explain to you how to make a complexion for a character with a brighter skin tone. So what do you first need to draw is the mouth. I'm going to take the darkest point from our model and draw the mouth. This is it. This is exactly how anime mouths look like. That's it. Of course, if you want to add a bit more lip to it, you know, make it a bit more realistic, then you can add a slight shade of pinkish or reddish colors that will look, especially with this tool, it will be very good to make it like small and less opacity. However, we're making a cell shaded model. So for cell shaded models, you're not really going to draw any lipsticks, you know? Not supposed to be realistic. We're going to draw, however, is some shade on the skin. Now, you're going to go up in here for that. Just a bit of a darker color and make the brush big. And there you go. This is the shade that you're going to want to have behind the ears and on the bottom of the jaw. You're also going to want the shadow under the lip. This is not necessary, but you want to mark that your model has pretty big lips, you can do it. Since it's cell shaded, you want the shadow to be a bit more harsh. But if you're trying to opt for a more realistic one, then of course you would want to blend it out more. You're going to want to have a shadow on the nose. Now you're going to turn off the mirror tool in here and just draw it on one side, like so, in a little triangle or sideways triangle shape. Now this is optional, but you can make a little shadow around the eyes. This helps especially with like makeup. The ear line, basically outline, alongside of this line. This is like the inside of the ear. So you're going to want to draw like this, more or less. And then go like this. Now it's not going to look perfect. We're just going to fix it up right now. Fill it up completely. So now that we're done with that, we're going to add shadow over the head. I'm going to use again a bit more blurred out one. And with the mirror tool on, I'll basically draw over the forehead until it pops up on the model. But yeah, this should be good. Here we go. Congrats, you have made yourself a proper looking anime face. So we have all of your shadows. This is just your shadows and one line for the mouth. It's really, really easy, you know? So what's going to come next is actually drawing the nose. Of course, you don't have to do this. You know, you can leave the nose like this and just go with highlights right away. But I'm actually going to draw a little line. Yeah, there we go. So same thing for the ear. You can add the little outline. You can simulate it by just drawing it yourself on the texture. Something like this. I was supposed to mirror this action, so both sides look the same, but yeah, you get the gist. Oops, I forgot to do that. Alright, so you're pretty much done. The only thing that's left is highlight. Going to be your highlight. Now, you can blur this out, of course. I'll use this maybe. That's it. You can also blur out the shade if it's too much for you. And just have a nose that's more of a single line, you know. My nose, for example, I don't even have a proper nose, as you can see. My nose is basically just a little dot, as you can see. So I didn't even make a full-on line. You can make a little dot. And I didn't draw a highlight and a shadow. I only drew blush on top of it. And that's okay too. I'll actually make the little highlight and I will take a shadow and make a little blush. This really helps a lot with making the character a bit more lively. But this like specific highlight on the cheek, sometimes it looks better without it. Some people prefer when it's really shiny. So if you want to look really shiny, you can use it. But there's one thing that we forgot about. Eyelids. Now eyelids are best done with VRoid models on the eyeline mesh, actually, in here. So we're going to get onto this layer, bring back the opacity, have the mirror on, of course, take this color and make eyelids. Pretty much just a line. You can leave it as this, or you can again try to simulate the outline of that, like we did on the ears, like this. As you can see, since we're going for the outlines very hard, and we're making outlines on the ear and on the mouth, and it's very, very cel-shaded style. I think it's also very good that you get an outline for the eyebrows and for the eyelashes. You want basically an outline for everything. We will draw around it the same way we did it on the iris. And there you go. You're going to choose the eyebrows. Again, alpha lock, so you're drawing on what you had before. And make the outline. Yeah, there you are. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if it felt a bit rushed. I hope it wasn't too hard to understand. If anything, please use the YouTube options and slow down the footage so that you can get everything properly. Yeah, if you want to, please leave questions about it down below. This is just the first half of the second part, so there's more to come. And if you want to, please follow me on Twitter. Join my Discord if you want to, or if you have any questions, you can ask me there. Yeah, see you in the next one. Bye bye!